Hey guys, what's going on? Myron Turner here. Thank you for clicking play. Obviously, if you click play, you're probably interested. So this is going to be something great, and it's the beginning of it. It's called the Immigration Status podcast, aka Immigration Status. On this podcast, we'll be sharing stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly around people who, like myself, migrated from other parts of the world all the way to New Zealand to live and to work and to play. So today on episode 1, we're going to be talking to someone all the way from the Middle East. So tune in. Switch it up now. And we are ready to roll. Thank you. This is episode 1 of Immigration Status. Now I call it Immigration Status, but you can put a little hyphen in the middle for Immigration Stat us, because we're talking about us. Now who is us? All of us who've migrated from one part of the world to another. Here we are in New Zealand at the bottom of the world. Why did we leave our countries to come to this one? That's what this show is about. This is episode 1, our pilot, and today we are going to be kicking it off with a very, very special guest and a good friend of mine, Mr. Nawaf Bshennaty.
Almost
said that wrong.
Almost there.
Moving on. Said his name wrong, so off to a great start already. So look, just first and foremost, want to thank our sponsors, Ministry of Ethnic Communities, Navigators, and Campfire Studios. Thank you so much. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get going with this. Did I miss anybody? All good? All right, keep going. So, okay, well, look, first of all,
it's Bshennaty.
Me saying your name like this is my best, and you need to respect the best that I can do.
Oh, I do, man.
All right, I'm American, and I'm living in New Zealand.
Oh.
That alone deserves a lot of empathy in itself. Just leave that, okay? Yeah. I'm American, living in New Zealand. We have our own version of English, as you know, and I've been talking to you about this for a while. We have an actual relationship, off the camera, so we have.
Okay.
This has been beef for a while, but I'm going to try this one more time. Nawaf Bshennaty.
Bshennaty. Anyway, it's all right. My job is to tell you what's the right way to pronounce it, but no hard feelings. Okay. It's like me saying Myron Turner.
I would accept that.
Okay, there you go. So different cultures,
I would accept that.
Different languages.
I would totally. We can start a friendship off of that. Yep. That may just be how you read my name. That's how
Myron
you spell my
Turner,
name.
Thank you very much for introducing me today.
Well, you can't say Myron because there's no I at the end of my name, but people say that. Even I say my name wrong. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so we actually got a few things to cover. So we just talked about your name, and we have that. Well, I still don't have that, but hopefully everyone else does. We would have had a graphic to show your name at the bottom of the screen, so that's fine. At least they can, read it and Google it and look at the name history.
It's spelled Nawaf. It's not even pronounced the same way I introduce myself. So it's the actual Arabic pronunciation is Nawaf. But it's the easier way to say it's Nawaf.
Okay, let's talk about that. Where exactly are you from, sir?
The name is Saudi. I was born in Saudi Arabia. My mom is from Saudi Arabia, but she is half Egyptian, a quarter Saudi, quarter Moroccan. So North African in one half, and Lebanese on the other half, which is my dad. So they met in Saudi Arabia, and I took my uncle's name, who is also called Nawaf. So yeah, that's where the name's from.
Okay, is it like a big following of that type of crowd in New Zealand? Or at least...
What do you mean?
Well, how would you classify that? I mean, if we were to put a percentage on it, that's a big salad bowl full of ethnicities, if I will. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So will we say there's a lot of people from that part of the world who've chosen to settle in New Zealand?
Yeah. There's a lot of Saudi Arabians in New Zealand, or Saudis for short. They mainly come for uni. They usually get funded by the government or get scholarships by the government to come around, whether New Zealand, Australia, America, or the UK, or all parts of Europe, as a matter of fact. Moroccans, we know a common friend whose mom is, she's Algerian actually. Very similar, very close. So no, I don't know any Moroccans in the country. Very similar cultures with Algerians, that's for sure. Egyptians, I've met one Egyptian, mainly Iraqis in the country, but Lebanese people, I only met a handful. I would say Not many Arabs that I met over here, except Iraqis. There's a lot of Iraqis in the country, yes.
Okay, and you're from Oman.
Nah, I lived in Oman.
You lived in Oman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the way you correct me, you know. It's just like being at home with my wife. It's great. Just being corrected constantly.
Well, when you spell it wrong, I have to tell you.
No, this is good. This is good learning.
Friends looking out for each other.
That's what it is, you know, and I appreciate that. That's what the chemistry is.
Hey, my culture hinders my ability to actually be upfront and straightforward and tell you, no, that's wrong. Yes. We're more like very passive, and we try not to break, you know, that relationship by correcting people. And it usually has a negative impact, because what's unknown becomes, you know, just unknown, and you wouldn't know if you're not corrected. And I'd be like holding on to that, you know, oh, he keeps getting it wrong, but I don't want to tell him. But this, and it's huge in my culture, and it's something that I had to learn to get rid of and implement the Western way of doing things.
So you would fit right into Kiwi culture right away.
Yes and no.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Yes and no, meaning there are times that I still try to avoid confrontation, try not to give people that constructive or developmental feedback. I struggled in my first proper job in New Zealand when I quickly got promoted to being a supervisor, and part of my role, because it was a massive organization, part of my role was to actually give feedback, whether it's positive or constructive, which is not negative, but you have to word it in a way that's constructive. Where I come from, we try not to hurt people's feelings. Let's just put it under that umbrella.
Complete opposite of where I'm from.
Yeah. And I struggled because the people that I was giving feedback to were not just from the West, but there were people from Asia as well. And so I needed to tread carefully. So I learned a lot in that job, huge. But it's been about 3 years now since I left that company, and I still keep it in the back of my head to make sure that I give that feedback. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to need to put on that hat because I'm going to be put in a leadership role. I need to make sure that I navigate and coordinate in a team to reach to a common goal.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your beginning, the beginning of your immigration story. How did you actually end up here?
Well, like I said, I'm not from Oman. So back in 2016, I got sick and tired of being in Oman because I was unemployed, but my wife was. The country wouldn't put me under her sponsorship. And so I was doing uni by distance, university in Australia. So the options were, I'm not going to keep flying back to Lebanon every 2 months to renew my visa. It's either I go live back in Lebanon, which is a no-go because it's very unstable, or move to Australia and continue my university. Looked into it, and I kept searching universities, and I looked into New Zealand, and I was like, well, fees are higher in this university, but you know, if I'm going all the way to Australia, I might as well go to New Zealand. My wife's Kiwi, by the way, which you know. Came to find out that domestic rates are a lot cheaper than international students' rates. And I was like, but I'm an international student. Then I quickly realized I've been with my wife long enough to get a residency.
Okay.
So I applied for a residency. It took about maybe 3-4 months to get it. But when I got it, I was able to transfer universities and come to New Zealand and continue my education, my tertiary education.
Oh, yeah.
So I moved here when I got my residency September 2016. Just a few months before that, because I still had my visit visa, which was valid. But by September 2016, I had my residency. And yeah, here I am. My wife joined me about a year later because she was the breadwinner at the time. And then she got pregnant when she came on one of the visits. And quickly we switched the roles of, okay, I'm going to study part-time, but work relatively part-time as well.
Yeah.
And support the family and have my wife off employment. And just because she always wanted to be a full-time mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look,
That's how I landed here.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people share similar stories. I myself also end up here on a partnership situation. But I guess we want to peel back the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm gonna ask you to kind of just take that cultural aspect, going back to, because that's such a different world. Like Middle East is such a different world, and we've had so many different conversations around that and around how things are and what's offensive, what's not offensive, even down to the traffic and how people drive, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, just everything. So it would be like literally from transferring your mind from Mars to Earth. You know, it's just like, but it's like that for most people. You know, the culture clash, and that's the beauty of this show. We get a chance to kind of peel back some of those stories. So with that said, can you give me something that's like a really, really, really good high point that kind of highlights cultural difference and a really low point?
It's a very general question.
I can be more specific.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so let's talk about you mentioned your experiences in the workplace.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, I know for a fact that your wife is Kiwi.
Pakia Kiwi. Yeah, she's white.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to say that, but
That's all right.
She is a white woman.
She's European Kiwi. Let's just say she's European Kiwi. Yeah.
She's a European Kiwi, and that alone, you guys will have your own internal cultural clashes.
My wife's very Arab.
Oh, okay.
She moved to Oman when she was 4. She was there before I was. She moved in 91. I was there in 98.
Wow.
But I'm Arab, whereas she moved from New Zealand when she was 4 years old.
Okay, so that doesn't count. So that
doesn't count.
That would work in your
She's
favor.
very Arab.
So that would work in your favor then. So okay, let's piggyback off that. Give me a high point. Both of you guys, you're here, you're settled in, you're in New Zealand first 6 months.
Culture shock. You're talking culture shock.
Well, I want to get the high point first. Like it was something. Give me something that was positive that like made New Zealand seem like a nice, big, shiny place to live.
Everywhere is green. It's beautiful. The country's beautiful. Driving is safe. I wouldn't say it's as safe as people promote it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Oman was relatively safer than New Zealand was. I've been exposed to a few incidents which I'm not going to say traumatized me, but I knew how to act in those moments. But I guess within 6 months, I was carjacked. And for me, that was just like...
That was here?
Yeah. I was in the car myself with 3 other guys. No, actually 4 other guys. Parnell.
Parnell?
Out of all places, Parnell.
Nah, man.
Guy comes in, parks right in front of the car, and then... Obviously, we had a few drinks, so we're like, okay, maybe it is undercover cops. But then they reversed, took off, went off, and then turned around. I guess they positioned themselves to leave the parking lot very easily.
Hold on. Wait.
The guy comes up to my door and goes like, "Get the F out." So you get out, give me your wallet. I was like, I don't have my wallet on me. Phone was mounted on the car, and guy just got in the driver's seat. Everyone is out of the car, and they just drove my car off. And at that moment, I realized it was a carjacking incident.
Wait a minute. Just for context, for those listening, if you've never been to Parnell, it's kind of like walking in a field of daisies and a couple of shops that sell apples. That's pretty much what Parnell is like. So it's just shocking to hear that.
Yeah. So I was 30 years old. So this is 4 years ago, probably. This has never happened to me in my life. Never. And
that's ironic, man.
My friends were freaking out. Obviously, they went into freeze mode. I went into fight mode. Obviously, I didn't fight anyone. But I went over the guy that carjacked me in the car with the car door closed, but the window down, and I grabbed my wallet. So I did that, and then I asked one of my guys, give me your iPhone. They were still freaking out. I was like, give me the iPhone right now. And I tracked my phone, and within 20 minutes, the cops, Eagle, the chopper, managed to locate them, and they finally caught them. So that was easy. But I had a similar incident a few months later at uni when I left I think it was Information Commons, where students would go and study. I got in the car and I saw someone a bit drunk and a bit unstable. So locked the car, and he came to the car door, the passenger door, and he tried to open the door. I was like, hell no, not again. So yeah, that was for me that those two incidents kind of determined how safe and secure New Zealand was. But over the years, obviously, that diminished and it kind of faded away because it's been relatively safe since then.
Yeah, but that would have definitely changed your lens, the perspective of what this place is.
That's what you get in the West. This is what I got. This is what I felt. In the West, you're going to get carjacked, you're going to get robbed, you're going to get punched, you're going to get...
Oh, so you already had a pre-connotation of what you were going to experience coming from East.
Yes.
And you were like, oh, well, this is the norm, and this is going to happen. I'm sorry, man. I didn't even know that. Like, I'm sorry you had to experience that.
No, but it's been good since then. I mean, like, the highs were, everything is pretty much accessible. Two Island is a little bit not accessible, but, you can fly very easily. It's relatively cheap, I would say, especially considering that I used to work for an airline. Staff tickets were pretty discounted, like 90% discounted. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed visiting most parts of New Zealand.
Okay, so I guess let's just backtrack a little bit. Overall, it sounds like your transition from one place to another was fairly seamless. Is that what you're trying to say? Or?
Yeah. It was,
so the immigration process was fine. The immigration system was fine. There was no crazy holdups on visas or anything like that. It was just bum.
I mean, there were bumps along the way. Like what? In 2019, when I got hired for another aviation company, I was asked to go to Hawaii for training because one of our clients were Hawaiian Airlines. Yeah. I put my hand up because I was doing night shifts constantly, and Hawaiian Airlines left Auckland at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. So it made sense for me to go as the manager at the time. Left New Zealand, it was fine. I already had my American visa from Oman, which was still valid. Got into Hawaii, no problems at all. When it came to checking in to come back, the kiosk wouldn't let me check in. So I went up to the desk and they were like, it says, do not board. And I wasn't sure why. I'm a resident. I'm a resident with an indefinite status. The lady got on the phone to Immigration New Zealand, and she quickly found out that I had cancelled my visa when I left. Obviously, I didn't do anything. But it turns out that there was a condition on my resident visa. For me, the indefinite status that was on it meant permanent, but it was a resident visa with a condition. Yeah. That condition said, if you leave after this date, your visa becomes void.
Oh, yeah, them terms and conditions.
And you never read terms and conditions. Yeah. Nobody ever reads terms and conditions.
No, they don't.
Exactly. And so the guy asked me a few questions. He was able to verify that my wife still lived in New Zealand. I have a house. I've got kids. And he said, we'll give you a visit visa, no charge, just come in, but you need to apply for the permanent residency. Obviously, for me, I was like, what permanent residency? I am a permanent resident. Yeah. But I came to quickly find out that, no, I was not a permanent resident. I was a resident bridging to permanent residency. Yeah. And obviously, I got stood down from work for about 10 to 14 days, so 2 weeks approximately, while the process...
So it was about to take you a lot anyway.
Yeah, because I was jobless. And the thing was supposed to take about 50 to 70 days to process. But with persistence and a lot of calling Immigration New Zealand, I managed to get it within 12 days. But now I'm a permanent resident. So yeah, there were ups and downs. There's a lot of there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of fine print that you don't read. A lot of requirements to get to the country, and I get it. There's a lot of checks the country needs to make. Yeah,
but I guess some things slip through the cracks, even with their internal systems and process. Because I've actually heard a lot of stories like that, with similar stories like that, and people. It could have been worse. Actually, could have been stuck for a lot longer
in Hawaii.
I
don't have money to pay for like 2-3 weeks, 50 days in a hotel.
Yeah.
Who do I stay with?
And worst case scenario, you had a death in the family or something while you're away. Yeah. This stuff happens, man. It's really, really, it's really bad. But anyway, no, thank you for sharing that part. So, we're gonna move along. So tell me what your favorite part about New Zealand is. What is your favorite Aotearoa And I'm sorry for the way I say Aotearoa for all the Kiwis.
Aotearoa.
Look, man, like I said, I'm American, living in New Zealand. I've been here for 7 years.
You have to embrace the culture.
I have embraced the culture. But see, me embracing the culture and then me actually saying a word correctly is two different things. I used to live...
It's all right. I get it. Us Arabs have... Because we say the letters that not a lot of people say. Like, I mean, in South Africa, you say kha, but we... Like, in America, you guys don't say kha. You don't say ha.
Well, we have
letters.
Sneeze when we do.
Well, try to use that to say Khaled. You will end up saying Khaled.
Yeah,
the
Khaled.
name Khaled. It's actually Khaled.
DJ Khaled.
So pronunciation for us is very easy. So I'm just trying to help your brother out.
That's okay. I'm going to need way more than one night of help.
My favorite, I would say pies from the bakery, fish and chips.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say LMP, obviously. A lot of people would. But, just being able to, grab some fish and chips and go and have a picnic with a bunch of friends, have a few beers. I'm not too sure what else. Traveling is very nice, I would say. The roads are nice. The roads are much, much safer than where I've come from.
Yeah.
People over there tailgate like no man's business.
Yeah.
They're like up your bumper pretty much the whole way until you move. And if they flash you, give you like headlight flashes, they expect you to move to the next lane. You're not supposed to be on the fastest lane if someone else is coming really fast. Whereas here, if you do that, you're stuck. You have to move for people. If you want to go faster, you have to maneuver and move around.
Pretty much.
So driving is really safe, and I love that. That's...
No, I can second that, man. Everything you're telling me about, living here. I think overall, New Zealand actually is what Kiwis think it is. Yeah. Overall, like without me being critical, because a lot of Kiwis are living in this kind of euphoria where they think that they're not really a part of the rest of the world. Now I know this is gonna sound kind of critical, but like I gotta say it, like living here this long, working here. It's just like Kiwis are watching the news like it's not real. Like the events out there, that's what's happening there. Oh, look what's happening in America. And it's gonna be my bad Kiwi accent. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah, nah.
Oh yeah, nah. No, not about that Trump character. Nah.
Neck minute.
Yeah. And it's, I always say the best thing I can definitely say that like I came up with a slogan for this show, and I was thinking, your immigration status doesn't change who you are. And by that, I mean that as soon as you accept who you are as a person in your culture, it's sealed in you, and no matter where you go in the world, that's who you are. Like I always tell people, you can take the boy out of Chicago, but you can't take the Chicago out the boy. Like I'm going to be a Chicago boy till I die, like Southside Chicago, rep it forever. But in saying that, the minute I accepted that lifestyle that you just spoke about, New Zealand, I think that's the point that all of us who've immigrated here become Kiwis, when you accept and embrace that, hey, I can go, to the park and have a conversation, or I can walk down the street and not get mugged, or I can, just that lifestyle. It took me a while to get adjusted to it. It's a little bit slower here, and everything moves at its own little pace, and
people are very laid back.
People are laid back.
But no matter where you're from, you're accepted. That's I mean, to a certain extent, to a really high extent, though. If you're on the street or if you're in a restaurant, you will never get discriminated. Whether you're brown, you're black, you're white, you're Asian, doesn't matter. You're welcome, you get served the same level of service you get whether you're brown or white.
Yep.
And that's what I like about the country. Whereas you'd go to, other Western countries and you feel like you don't, like even when I go to Lebanon, because I'm brown, Lebanese people are fair.
Yeah.
They're like pretty white. When I speak in a Lebanese dialect, they'll go like, you Lebanese? Like, yeah, my mom is from Saudi Arabia, hence the brown skin color.
Can we get a little sample of that? Can you sample the Lebanese? Can I sample it? Can you hear it? Can I hear it? Can I hear it? Can I hear it?
What?
Can I hear it? Can I hear it?
What?
Can I hear it though? Can I hear a little bit though?
In Arabic?
Am I going too fast? Am I speaking too fast?
You're not making sense.
Can I hear? Can I hear a little bit?
You want to hear it?
I want to
Arabic.
hear some of your accent.
In what, the Lebanese?
I want you to say it.
Yeah, basically they ask Inta Lebanese. It's like Inta Lebanese. Lebanese is Lebanese.
And Talib and
Inta
Inta
Lebanese.
Lebanese.
Yeah, straight up. They like, you go to a grocery store, and you're checking out, and you go like a dish, as in how much.
Yeah.
And then they go like Inta Lebanese, and you go like, yes, I'm half Saudi, hence the skin color. Oh yeah, okay, makes sense.
Oh, they want to know what you are.
Because they think that I'm just rocking up to their shop and mocking the Lebanese accent. And they don't realize that.
That's sad.
Yeah, they don't realize that there's a lot of half-caste Lebanese people living in the country. As a matter of fact, I knew a girl called Yvonne. Hopefully she doesn't hear this because I shouldn't have mentioned names, but she's half Filipino, half Lebanese. She's brown.
And they would question her.
I don't know her side of the story, but I mean, she might get away with it. But she's probably got a bit more Lebanese qualities than I do. I've really picked up the Saudi side very strongly. The North African Saudi side. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm sorry. I can do this for hours. I'm just trying to stay. That's why I have this paper in front of me, folks. Because if I don't, I'll lose the anchor and I'll just go forever. But okay. Favorite Kiwiism or cultural aspect of the country that you've loved or still can't get your head around?
Well, we spoke about some of the things that we like in the country. Definitely, you don't feel like you are different or you stand out when you go to restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing, like the challenge that I have is in the workplace usually, and it's particularly in my first job in New Zealand, and it was just very. So I came to the airline with a lot of experience, and I started from the bottom, and I was willing to start from the bottom, but I knew how to uphold highest levels of customer service and professionalism and excellence, and that kind of that was very obvious for the senior managers, and they saw that and they were like, this guy is, leadership material. So they encouraged me to apply for a role, and I went for it. Obviously, the first time I didn't get it because I didn't fully understand the company culture within that was 3 months in or 4 months in. But the next round I applied, I actually got the job, which was 2 months later.
Yeah.
And so within 7-8 months, I was promoted, and people just didn't understand why this guy that came into the company 8 months ago got promoted, whereas there are other people here for many years and they still haven't got promoted. And it was funny for me because I was like, but why didn't they apply? So they didn't apply for the role.
They didn't apply.
So my competition was, restricted to 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
And when it came to what I had to offer, I had more experience than them, and from a different international airline. But it kept going on, even though I was in that position. There was two different teams. One that really liked me and wanted to work with me, and one that kind of grouped up with a bunch of other employees.
Yeah.
And just, the gossip, and it's called the tall poppy syndrome. That was really hard.
Tall poppy syndrome.
That was really
Can
hard.
do a whole podcast on tall poppy syndrome by itself. I'm telling you, man, I hit that hard and still hit it on the regular basis.
And I talk about it right now because, I'm over it. It's done. It taught me a lot. And I'm not in a place right now where it matters or it bothers me. I'm in a very good place. Wherever I go, I know that I'm not seeking opportunities. As a matter of fact, opportunities are coming after me. They're chasing me up. And when I say that, the job that I work in currently, the guys really love working with me to the extent that they just wanted to do anything for me to stick around and work more. And very recently, I got contacted by a friend of mine who really wanted me to work in their organization because they think I can add value. And I've got to a stage in life where I'm like, you know what? I'm the one that's adding value to your organization. You want me. You either want me or not.
Yeah.
And you get to a stage in the country where you adapt, you know how to deal with all these things.
I'm glad you brought that up, adding value, because the thing is, like, you actually have to come here feeling like you're bringing something to the table, which is paradoxical if you think about tall poppy syndrome, because it's like you're proud of what you bring to the table, but then when you get here, you hit on the head for bringing something to the table, and it's just like, man, that's messed up, man. Because if we were on a plane and you needed a doctor on the plane, like, but you already told the doctor to sit down and stop being proud of being a doctor, when it's time and someone actually has a heart attack, we need a doctor. Oh, actually, back here, because I'm trying to be humble. It's like we just got this thing going on. Like I said, that's a topic. That's a topic in itself. But thank you for bringing that up. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna close. But look, as you know, immigration, New Zealand will most likely and the powers that be, most likely will open up the borders again in the midst of everything we've been through with COVID and all of the variants of COVID, all the mutations of COVID, and everything that's happened with lockdown after lockdown after lockdown. Talks are finally on the table of opening the borders again, which means we will be opening our doors to more people that look like us, sound like us. I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about being from another part of the world. Yep. So I guess, if you had something you would say in closing, like, what would you say to future immigrants or people who have aspirations of actually moving to New Zealand?
Pre-COVID, the wait time in immigration New Zealand was over an hour on the phone. So that's one thing to watch out for. I actually experienced that when I was in Oman trying to chase up my application. It took a long time in an international call. So that was just a funny comment. There's a process to follow, and it'll be followed. It is legal. The immigration New Zealand officers or case managers, whatever you call them, they will get the job done based on the timeline that's promised. They usually stick to that. You can get an immigration's office to submit your application on your behalf because they know the ins and outs, but it is fairly easy if you just read. So my advice to anyone that is considering New Zealand as their new home or would like to migrate, or even just check it out, even if it's just for a visit, because I know that October for now is when New Zealand might open for tourism. But there are talks that tomorrow that might change, tomorrow being Wednesday. But honestly, the process is fairly straightforward. Read the website, read the conditions, and make sure you meet the requirements.
The requirements, yes.
The requirements are huge.
Yes.
Do not forge documents. Do not forge statements. Do not forge relationships and claim that you've been with a Kiwi girlfriend or partner, like they say.
Don't do it.
Because they can pick it up.
They can pick it up right away.
Do not Photoshop. Do not do any of that stuff. We've got a strong system in the country, and it's going well. Just, be patient, I would say.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you so much. Well, look, I would go ahead and just add on and just put my little 2 cents on this and say that, New Zealand is a great country to be in. I think New Zealand is awesome. It's a beautiful place to be. I always tell people New Zealand is probably one of the greatest places in the world to raise children. In spite of all the stuff I disagree with in the government, there's more things I agree with this place than disagree with. It's been really good to my family. And
the healthcare system.
Healthcare system, like second to none, like what you have to do versus in other places. And the lack of violence, even though the violence has been slowly picking up, it's nothing compared to what it is in places like where me and you are from.
Lebanon.
And me being from the south side of Chicago, if I didn't say that already. But it's just, it's just a beautiful place to be. And we've been here long enough to know that the immigration process is what it is. But it's a lot of psychological hurdles to jump over, and I think on both sides, not just for the migrant. I think also for the powers that be in Immigration New Zealand. Just all of this stuff is more psychological. People are worried that the wrong type of people are going to come in New Zealand instead of thinking that the right people will come in New Zealand. Nations grow because you allow external thoughts to come in. Every nation that's ever grown, that's why they grew. That's why America grew. America literally is a place full of immigrants. It's built on immigrants. Everything we have was built on people who, are not from that land. And every other great nation, if you do your homework, you see it's the same thing. When you let the immigrants in, new ideas come in, and the country grows. So yeah, thank you so much for your stories. We appreciate it, and I couldn't thought of a better first guest for the Immigration Stat Us podcast. Big thank you once again to Ministry for Ethnic Communities and Oranga and Navigators in the Campfire Studios for helping us out today. So I'm Myron Turner, and we signing out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, that was crazy. Look, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Look, for me, what I pulled out of that was things are not always what they seem. You can actually go into a situation expecting one thing, and then it turned out to be another. But then in some crazy way, it can still turn out to be a good thing. But look, that's what I feel we've discovered today, that we can see a glass of water, but at the same time taste the desert and still like the taste of it. I know that sounds strange, but look, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. And look, I hope you click in for the next episode.